Wait, it says I'm on. Am I going?
No, it still says waiting for Hopper. I think. Yes.
Wait, I think. Oh, it's almost there. It's almost loaded. Oh, wait, what the hell? Still loading. Am I live?
As we reset this.
Are we here? Oh. It says that I'm on. I don't know how many people are going to join. It's like 9 o'clock here where we are.
Oh, there we go. Okay. It's live.
All right, we're live. Is anybody here? Is anyone going to join the stream?
We're live.
Let's see if anyone joins. Oh, there's a person. Maybe it's you.
I think it's
me. Are you the person? This is really misleading because there's one person. I don't know if it's you or someone else. Let's just see if anyone's even there. Hello, people of YouTube. Are you going to watch my video?
The
Bad Batch Season 1. Oh, the person who was there just left. Are you still?
Another person.
Oh crap!
Oh.
Wait, so someone just showed up and left? They were just like, fuck these guys. We don't want to listen to the Bad Batch. Oh, there's a new person. Who is this person?
Okay.
Who is it? Who was joined? Oh, someone left again. This is not going well. Oh no. Well, I guess we need to talk about something. So, even if we're just alone and no one wants to discuss with us, we're just gonna talk about it. All right. So, what do we think about the season in retrospect?
It's one of those shows like Rebels, where at first I was the first episode was great, but
yeah, the premiere. I would argue. I don't know if you agree with this, that the premiere and the finale, like the two-part finale, I guess I would argue that they are the best, like the high points of the show.
Yes, I think I took the show a little bit for granted, and then near like the last couple episodes, I kind of looked back and started appreciating it.
It really pulled me in again at the end there, and it's not that I didn't enjoy it. Like, it gave me something to look forward to every week, and it was something like enjoyable every week. It wasn't like, these other shows are like, okay, it's boring, it's boring or whatever. Like, this is like, how long has this been going on? Since May 4th. This has been going on for like almost 3 months.
I kind of want to rewatch it now. It's like Rebels. I want to rewatch it because, like, that definitely that twist in episode 15, the crosshair, kind of made me think a little bit more.
Yeah, it's one of those shows that kind of it makes you want to look back at the end. But I feel like it's the sign of a good show. Like, it actually, like, most, I would say most, if not all episodes. Oh, hello, someone's here. Who's this? Who's joined?
Lego Fury Films.
Lego Fury Films. What's up, dude? How you doing? I'm counting on you to read off the chat, Ian, because I cannot see it from the angle that I'm at.
Oh, I just spilled cereal. Okay. My bad. I was about to swear, but this is friendly. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Alright, hold up. I'm just gonna leave the call for a second.
Okay.
My bad.
Sorry about that. Having a bit of a miscommunication. But yes. Okay. Yes, we're just here. Have you seen the Bad Batch? Lego Fury Films? Sorry, wait, I need to like like at the angle that I have my camera pointed at, I can't actually read what you're saying. So I need to join my live stream like on my other device so that I can actually read what you're saying. It kind of sucks. Why do you say that? Airy Animations, what's up, dude? Nice to see you here. Boring. Why do you feel it's boring? It's not for you. Yeah, that's totally fair. I understand that. I know that it's not for everyone. I can understand that. I definitely have my fair share of shows and movies that are just don't really appeal to me personally. That's definitely, I understand. I can relate to that. Um, I don't know. I like kind of smaller stories. Stress you out. Stress you out. Yeah, it's understandable, I guess. Air Animations, not the biggest fan of Star Wars. Why is that, dude? I didn't realize I had so many anti Star Wars people on my channel. No offense, no offense. Um, but yeah, I didn't realize that you didn't like Star Wars. I am not sure where Ian went off to. He's taking a little while, huh? Oh, there we go. He's back. All right. Sweet. You're back. Nice. Okay. I heard you had a bit of a problem on your end.
Yeah, I just spilled half the bowl of cereal.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, what do we got? Lego Fury Films. Okay. You do love good stuff. Solo, yeah, I agree. Solo's pretty underrated. Mandalorian, Bad Batch, different from that. Yeah, I can understand. Did you like? Do you like the other animated stuff? Is it something about the animated stuff that just doesn't appeal to Lego Fury Films, or is it just the general kind of concept of the Bad Batch in general? Oh, I think we got a third person on here, unless that's you.
Oh, nice. Oh, no, I think that's no. I actually I kept YouTube open, so I think it's someone else.
All right, sweet. We got a couple people. Your animations. Never find yourself to connect with any of the characters. Bizarre.
Connect with any of the characters, and some of the plot lines and stories feel boring.
Bizarre.
I can agree with some episodes. It kind of felt just kind of like a side episode.
I think he's talking about Star Wars in general because he said that he's not the biggest fan of Star Wars in general. Yeah, I guess I can understand. I don't know. I've just always liked Star Wars.
Yeah.
I know that it's not for everyone, particularly the last couple of years. I've gotten way into the lore and all that, and just kind of all the different franchises, and I'm still into it. It hasn't lost me yet, and I'm still looking forward to what they're working on.
I think when it came to Clone Wars Rebels, I was looking forward, whatever. I think I enjoyed the side mission Clone Wars episodes more, but I still enjoyed some of the Bad Batch side episodes because I feel like there was always a lesson.
There's always a lesson they learn, and it always feels like there's something kind of moving the story along in a certain regard. I guess that's not the case with all of them, but I like some of the. What was the one with the bugs or whatever, and the pikes show up or whatever? People really didn't like that one. I didn't understand why.
It was interesting, yeah.
And yeah. You like the sequels?
Unpopular opinion, I like the sequels. Honestly, they're definitely not the best Star Wars films, in my opinion.
They're better. I prefer them to a majority. Oh, I guess this is probably an unpopular opinion, but
yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I actually do have certain respect for them and some of the creative directions they took, specifically Rian Johnson and The Last Jedi. was one that I didn't like. I've been flippant on over the years, but the they definitely took the franchise in a lot of creative directions, and I appreciated that about Last Jedi. Rise of Skywalker kind of undid a lot of that, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. But yeah, exactly. They were poorly planned, and they are poorly planned. It doesn't have. I mean, I don't know if like I guess this is probably an unpopular opinion, but my stance on the Marvel franchise, but like I personally prefer them to a lot of recent Marvel movies, despite their kind of messiness, I guess.
Yeah. Like I did enjoy like the final battle of Rise of Skywalker because it's like Palpatine and lightning bolts, and I knew looking back on it, the movie wasn't good. And during the movie, there was a couple of scenes where I was like shaking my head, but
yeah,
like, it was still fun to watch.
Yeah, no, they never not fun.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they went from notoriously bad to notoriously good. I think it's just some of that has to do with the sequels in general. If you're more into the lore, you would understand. Well, the thing is, Area Animations, like, my sister really loves Mando, and she hasn't watched Clone Wars or Rebels or anything like that. And she just seems to kind of have, I don't know if it's a vendetta against animated stuff. It's something weird I've never understood about her, but she doesn't want to watch the animated stuff. I don't know why, but she loves The Mandalorian to like the moon and back. She's obsessed with that show. So I feel like it is possible to enjoy certain aspects of Star Wars without being super into other certain aspects of it. Because Ian, I remember you telling me a couple years ago that you weren't particularly into Star Wars, and kind of Mandalorian really piqued your interest quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be kind of the thing that got you back into it, or like more into it, I guess, than you were before, if I'm remembering correctly.
It was kind of like it was really awesome because it was like a show in space, but it was also felt like kind of a western. I like western movies, so. And then I kind of started watching Clone Wars with you. We watched like not all the episodes. We watched all like
majority of them, yeah.
Yeah, majority of them. And I really got into like the lore of Star Wars. I kind of realized it's really the only thing I could think of that I know Lord of the Rings does this, that it uses its own world and it kind of explains it. But Star Wars is one of those things where it doesn't completely rely on characters. It just kind of relies a little bit like on the world.
Yeah.
The whole world build.
Yeah, and that's what I like is like every couple of years we get some new form of media that introduces like new characters. Like okay, we get introduced to the Bad Batch, we get the Fallen Order game, we get introduced to Cal Kestis, and like a whole like lot of new characters, and it's always kind of interesting just inherently because of the lore and the kind of just Star Wars in general is a world that feels very palpable to me. Partially because they do deal with a lot of the similar issues that are present in the real world. But about what you were saying, Lego Fury films, I don't hate the prequels. Partially maybe that is nostalgia. I always liked them when I was younger. I don't like the prequels either. But I was kind of just listening to what everyone else said, and when I actually watched them again and I thought about them and everything, it's like, yeah, sure, the acting can be pretty stilted. There can be some pretty weak points in those movies overall, but like I feel like the story they're telling and everything is just kind of like, maybe that is because it's been enhanced so much by these other forms of media like Clone Wars and etc. But the fact is, I feel like they had a good idea for what they were doing, and I still like feel a lot of aspects of those movies are kind of not appreciated as much as they should be. And there's actually, if you look at them as a whole, like people complain about a lot of things that I feel like are kind of unfounded. Particularly certain things related to Obi-Wan finding out about the cloning program and stuff like that. Like, if you actually examine that plot carefully, there isn't a plot hole there. People just complain about it. But I understand. Like, obviously, if you don't like the prequels, like, I'm not gonna stop you. But it's just something like I've gone through different phases with the prequels. But at the end of the day, part of me just still kind of loves those movies just from just inherently. Area Animations has a question for you.
Oh man, it's really tough to rank the shows, but I think you can rank the films.
Oh, speaking of which, Area Animations. That's something that I was going to mention in the stream is that's gonna be my next video. Is I'm gonna be ranking every I thought it would be a cool thing to do because no one else I've seen on YouTube has really done it. But I'm gonna be ranking like every season of each like show. So like not like I know there's like a new show called like Resistance or something. I don't want to watch that. I don't really have any interest in that. But like kind of the main shows that are all like connected, like kind of the Filoni shows, like Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, and Bad Batch. I'm gonna be like ranking every season. So like not the shows in order, but like the seasons. So that's gonna be my next video coming up. Like I'm gonna post it sometime in the next few days. I'm really proud of the video. I'm looking forward to getting that up there. But I just thought I'd mention that because that was kind of a perfect segue. So thank you, Airy Animations, for the perfect segue. But Ian, maybe I will let you actually answer his question.
Oh, this is a tough one. Okay, so I got Empire Strikes Back at number 1. Is this like my favorite, or which ones I think are the best? Because
that's. I think it's subjective. Because you can't. I tried. It's impossible to be objective with these things. At the end of the day, it all comes down to personal opinion.
Then I gotta go with Return of the Jedi.
Really? Return of the Jedi. You're putting Return of the Jedi above New Hope. I don't know about that.
Oh, sorry, below New Hope. Below New Hope.
Oh, okay. Now New Hope is my favorite.
Empire Strikes Back, New Hope, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, then Attack of the Clones, The Last Jedi, Phantom Menace, Force Awakens, and Rise of Skywalker.
Did you put in Solo and Rogue One, or did I miss that?
Oh wow, there's a lot.
And what about the shows? He said shows, films / shows.
Okay.
So this is quite the lengthy list.
I think Clone Wars was my favorite show so far.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's hard for me to compare Rebels and Bad Batch because Rebels had 4 seasons to develop characters. Bad Batch only had 1.
Personally, I prefer Bad Batch. I feel like it's kind of the tone has a bit more of an edge to it. Marvel or Star Wars? Star Wars easily. Sorry if that angers anybody, but Star Wars easily for me. At least at this point in time. Maybe Marvel will have some resurgence in the future, but currently, just right now for me, it's just like.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So Empire Strikes Back. I'm just gonna do my favorite ones. So Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Revenge of the Sith. Solo is one of my favorite ones. I just really like that movie.
Yeah, underrated.
Return of the Jedi. Enjoyed that. Then Attack of the Clones.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of Phantom Menace. I don't really know why.
I've always had a soft spot. Oh, someone else joined. I can see a third person is on the chat.
Oh, nice. Then after Attack of the Clones, Rogue One, I just got to give some respect to that movie. It's not like my favorite movie to rewatch, but I know it's
really good. It is actually good. It's not personally my favorite. It's like I'm kind of a similar stance to you.
Yeah. And then The Last Jedi, Phantom Menace, Force Awakens, and Rise of Skywalker. I rewatched Force Awakens, and I don't know. I didn't love it. I don't really see it.
Oh, Airy Animations. Have you seen the Suicide Squad? No. It's kind of a similar thing to Marvel. I just don't really have a lot of interest in seeing it.
Yeah.
Especially considering that I guess personally, are you expiring over there, Ian? Are you okay? Are you dying?
Maybe.
But yeah, to answer your question, like, no, I haven't seen it. Simple answer.
I've seen like there's these reaction videos on YouTube where like these are 30 minutes or an hour long.
But you watched a full 30-minute to hour-long video on the Suicide?
They just reacted to it and they showed like clips from the movie. I don't know how.
How do you not get copyrighted for that?
Exactly.
What on earth?
I saw
That's nuts.
It kind of just seemed like another James Gunn movie. And no disrespect to James Gunn, like as the director, I don't know how good of a guy he is.
I don't know him personally,
like it just kind of seemed like Guardians of the Galaxy,
but not as good.
From DC. I haven't seen the full movie, so I guess I don't have a great opinion on it, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just not really interested in watching that. But yes, back to the Bad Batch, Ian. That's what the stream's about.
All right.
Let's keep it the Bad Batch.
What was your favorite episode?
My favorite episode. 15th episode, the part 1 of the finale.
I was gonna say that too.
Yeah. The second part's really good too. Don't get me wrong, but the first part of the finale was really kind of peak of the show. I felt. I think if I were to like rank them, I'm not gonna rank all the episodes, but I'd say like in terms of like the best episodes, I'd say like number 1, episode 15, number 2, the first one, and then the third place would be the second part of the finale.
Okay. Yeah. I actually like basically have the exact same list.
And we're gonna go back to making Hobbit stuff. Area Animations, yes. If you're interested in seeing that, that's kind of what I've been waiting for, is for someone to actually bring that up. Yes, I will be going back and making more Hobbit stuff. I want to do that following when I'm done kind of talking about like all the new Star Wars stuff. So, I'm making this stream, and then I've got another video, like a ranking video that I already said, and then after that, I kind of want to go back. If you were a fan of the channel back then, I don't know how far back you guys go with the channel, but I started a series like almost 2 years ago where I was like kind of reviewing each of the Hobbit movies or Middle Earth movies. So I kind of want to go back and do that again, or continue that series. Maybe redo my first review that I did, and then I want to kind of do like one of those pitch. Remember, I did a pitch for a Star Wars minifig series. I kind of want to do one of those for a Lord of the Rings or Middle Earth one, because there's a lot of minifigs that they never made that were actually like in the video games and stuff that there are already like pre-existing designs for, but the Lego just never made like physical minifigs stuff. So I kind of want to do something like that. I don't know if you'd be interested in seeing that, but to answer your question, yeah, I'll go back and do some Middle Earth stuff. I really want to do that. Suicide Squad, like a World War II movie, supervillains. Shares a lot of qualities of Guardians. It's very different. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, teach their own, I guess. Personally, I don't really like James Gunn. I don't know him as a person. I can admire some of his work as an artist. I always detach art from the artist, but personally, I don't really want to support what that guy is working on. But yeah, back to Bad Batch. So I felt like the one part of the show that really kind of felt the most, like I was saying, episodes like the Sid missions and whatever else. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with who? Ian? I think he's just having a bit of a heart attack.
Sorry, I'm just walking around. I choked on cereal. I'm just recovering.
James Gunn. You never knew about didn't know about the story about the friggin', what did he say? He made a bunch of very insensitive comments, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
A while ago. And I already kind of mentioned this in my Marvel video that I did recently, where I kind of talked about why I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's just kind of the fact that, like, people are going to excuse his actions in the past and say that, we can't judge him based on the standards of today. The type of things that he was mocking and kind of joking about were bad back then, and they're still bad now. It's not like anything's changed related to that. I just find it kind of weird that they rehired him at all. Like, they literally rehired him like months later or something, if I'm correct. Was it like months later, or was it a year?
That's what Hollywood does, man.
Yeah. And then they fired Gina Carano and didn't rehire her. Because she said something that, at least in my opinion, is way, like, not quite bad at all compared to Lisa.
Yeah, James Gunn made a very insensitive, very
multiple,
weird
I feel,
about sexual assault. So
So yeah, that's that answer. Yeah, I feel like in the weakest point of the show of Batman, the weakest point of it was kind of the whole weird subplot with Cad Bane.
that didn't feel like an episode.
It was weird because they made such a big deal out of the fact that Omega got kidnapped. Like, I kind of liked in the moment that there was like a subversion there because like the episode's like them escaping and then you don't expect him to show up at the end and then he kidnaps her. And you expect like a big shift in kind of the tone of the season from there on out, but they kind of just get her back in one episode and then it doesn't really affect them a lot going forward. Like in the next episode, Hunter is kind of concerned that he wasn't able to protect her and says she can't go on the mission and leaves her with Sid. But then later on, at the end of the episode, it's just like, play this game of chess with me, and then if you win, which I very well know you will, you can come on the missions. And she just comes on the missions for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
And that just felt like particularly like a weird point where it's like, they didn't really hold a lot. Like, there are instances later on where they are kind of more protective of her and they kind of don't let her go out on the mission. Like in the, what is it, the 14th episode when they break into that Imperial facility, they ask her to stay on the ship. So like there are instances of that, but it's weird that never really came back. And you know, and even not just Cad Bane, but like the whole aspect of like Fennec Shand and whatever else, kind of just felt like, here's this character, just gonna kind of put her in here to remind you that she's gonna be in Boba Fett later on in the year, and that that kind of just felt like the first episode she was in was easily the weakest one, like in the early end of the season. Like nothing really happened in that episode. Like she just chases them around in kind of like an Attack of the Clones ripoff chase scene, and then they get away. And then like the thing is, the weird part is that you don't actually find out like who she's working for. Like they leave it a mystery. And then later on, when they reveal it, it's not really that much of a reveal because they kind of already confirmed it in the other episode. Because in the prior episode, they're talking about like all the bounty hunters they have chasing her down to imply that Fennec was indeed hired by them. So then when they reveal that she was hired by them, it doesn't really feel like that big of like a, oh man, didn't see that coming. Like if they kind of put in like a red flag or something to, or red herring to kind of pull us off the Kaminoan scent and then reveal it, it's like, oh, that's kind of a subversion. That's subversion within a subversion. But you know, they never really did that. So like that whole thing just felt like they didn't really go anywhere. I was like, wait.
Really added something to Fennec Shand's character.
Yeah, they never really explored them in any meaningful way. Like Cad Bane, I guess it's cool to see him again. I don't agree with like kind of some of the like criticism of the scene where they're like, it's just feminist garbage that she was able to beat Cad Bane. I'm like, dude, he was already trying to chase Omega, which was already like he didn't expect Omega to get out, so he was already dealing with that. And then the fact that they had it, like there was a second bounty hunter, like presumably after the same bounty from his perspective. It's like that would obviously be a surprise to him. So I'm like, I don't understand that complaint that, oh, it's not a feminist move. Like he was literally just completely caught off guard. Because typically that character, like he's always very resourceful and he goes into situations like with kind of everything in mind. But like it wouldn't, I don't feel like in that situation it would have occurred to him at all that there would be another bounty on her.
Yeah, I think she was a more skilled one-on-one fighter.
And Cad Bane already had that like injury on his head, right? Like he had the metal plate on his head. So like he's probably, and he's older too. So I don't really.
I think Fennec Shand actually won that fight easier, to be honest.
Yeah, like they actually did fight for a while, if I'm remembering correctly. Like they.
I feel like she probably should have beat him up in like a second, not a second, but like in a couple minutes. I don't know.
It was a pretty cool fight. And yeah, like it's not like they're not the worst episodes in the world. Like they're not terrible, but I'd say like particularly those ones stick out as feeling weird because that plot thread was like kind of one of the main ones that was left unresolved by the end of the season was all the different bounties they had, like how like there was kind of the multiple layers of corruption within like the Kaminoan government with like the prime minister, and then there was Nala Se, and she also was sending a bounty hunter out, and there was kind of all those different layers of like people trying to usurp each other, like Rampart's trying to usurp the Kaminoans, and then what's his name, the prime minister's trying to kind of stay in their good graces. Well, what's her name is also trying to like usurp him. So there's like a lot of different elements at play there. and it just feels like that kind of got unresolved. Like they keep teasing the fact that the Kaminoans have some like plan that they have, like some kind of um what's the right word? There's some sort of like project they're working on that they need Omega's DNA for, and they never really that never comes to fruition. Like we never find out what that is.
I mean, the next, they have a lot of.
They did like the thing is that it does lead me to believe they will explore that further. Is the fact that they do have that kind of epilogue scene with Nala Se arriving on what is it, Darrow, the kind of forest planet. I think it's the same one from the 14th episode. And they're like, "We have big plans for you," or whatever. So like that does lead me to believe that they will continue that plot in the second season. So like, but like that just kind of goes to show how good of a job they did wrapping up the threads in the season itself. Because like that's the one that sticks out the most to me as feeling incomplete. Like the whole so as a result of that, all the kind of stuff with Cad Bane and Fennec Shand just feels like it sticks out the most. Because like the Sid stuff, like even the Sid elements, like the missions, like they kind of have in themselves like a resolution. The fact that in like the episode of the bugs or whatever, they show that she's willing to kind of stick out her neck for Omega and stuff, and they actually kind of feel like friends now. So they do kind of have a resolution to all that. It shows how they've grown, and then they go into the finale from that point. So like, I don't understand the argument that the Sid episodes are like filler. Like they're not filler. Like they build character and they build dynamics. Like they learn a lesson that kind of they always learn lessons on those missions that kind of progress the narrative going forward. It just feels like the thing that had the least effect was the freaking Cad Bane thing, because it feels very anticlimactic compared to how like big of a deal they made it out to be in the first place. They're like, "Oh man, she got kidnapped by Cad Bane. Oh shoot, what's gonna happen?" And then in the next episode, she's just back with them, and we never see Cad Bane again. They just left him on the planet. It's like, oh, bye. See you later, dude. Yeah, it's the same thing. They just leave. They keep leaving people randomly, and we don't know how they got up. Oh, I mean, it's safe to assume that the Empire is going to pick him up.
Yeah.
Because remember, there's some line from Lego Fury Films. You got to head out. All right. Thanks for tuning in, dude. Appreciate the support. Have a good night. Yeah, I think that definitely was the weakest point in the season. But like overall, like I do think everything kind of paid off. And then not only that, like the Sid missions and the side adventures they go on, they all had some type of purpose by the end, because like they have that whole point about Crosshair and how you never came back for me, right? And it's like those missions serve as a point to make in the final episode of showing the fact that they never went back for him. Like every mission they went on for her was a time they could have gone back for him, but they never did. In the final episode, even they bring up the fact that it's not like a one-sided thing. Like Crosshair seems to believe it's a one-sided argument, but there's that point when Wrecker says, all this time you never tried to come back to us. Like we would have brought you with us, right? He says something like that, like we would have taken you, and you just never bothered to try. So it's like it's like obviously he's for some time now been released from the effect of the chip. He could have gone to try and find them himself. And it's kind of weird that like that's kind of what they set up to happen at the end of the 14th episode, but they kind of just end up playing into his hands perfectly. Like remember, he's like, permission to hunt them down, and the guy's like, permission granted, and then he goes, and then like you don't really see him until the end of the next episode, and he's like, I'd hoped for the whole squad, but you'll do. and then it's like when he has the filter on his voice from the helmet or whatever, it's like, oh Jesus.
Like at some points he's like very scary, like just the way he talks. Like just start random, like someone would be saying something, he comes in, and as soon as you hear his voice, it's like, oh shit.
Oh shit, Crosshair's here. Oh frick, you're done. No, yeah, I love that. That was cool. Yeah, like and oh yeah, well, I guess that's kind of a point we have to give credit to Deep Bradley Baker, right? Because he voices every single clone. You know, he voices every single one of the clones, and he adds a distinct personality to all of them. Even some of the ones that like aren't like even members of the Bad Batch specifically, like Gregor. Right? Like, he even adds like whether or not I kind of like his weird squeaky voice. The point still stands that he does like voice all those characters and like adds like a certain personality, distinctiveness to each of them, which is important because like that's kind of one of the themes of Clone Wars and of this show is kind of their struggle to stand out. So it's like that's a very important thing to strike, to actually get that across successfully. I think we're alone now. I feel sad.
Yeah, nobody's here. I don't think.
Where's my buddy Israel Animations? He's usually fun. Let me like I'm gonna message him and be like, dude, you want to join? Yo, dude, want to join the stream?
I don't. The only like real complaints I would have about like the Bad Batch is like they didn't, which it makes sense, but they didn't give like one episode for every like character kind of thing. It was kind of just the story progressing and progressing. I wish one of those side episodes just had like something for Ted maybe.
I feel that that's actually a good point because that's something I wanted to segue into is the real kind of, I'd say the biggest neglected character was Echo. Echo was really neglected.
And the interesting character too.
Oh, Israel Animations, good to see you. I see you got my message, so I'm glad you're here. But yeah, Echo was definitely the most neglected character, considering that he has like the most history out of any of them, and that he was one of the original clones. And I get that the Bad Batch series is kind of focused on them, and like you find out a lot of history about them and like how they were created, and Omega was there when they were created and all that. But it's like Echo feels so neglected. Like part of me is like, should they have just left him dead in the Clone Wars and not brought him back?
The biggest arc for Echo's character was actually in like season 7 of Clone Wars.
Yeah, that's true. Like the thing is, like he makes a sacrifice in the 3rd season, and then like I know that like they had the arc for the Bad Batch for season 7 like planned years in advance, like before Clone Wars got canceled. But like the fact is, like they brought him back, and then they have him join the Bad Batch, and even at the end of Clone Wars, like it felt like a weird decision to have him join them because like they weren't really particularly nice to him. So he's just like, I'm gonna go with them because they're different, like me, not for any other reason at all. Really, like, so it always felt weird that he joined them and that he made that decision. There wasn't really a lot of. I get that they're like 20-minute episodes, but they didn't really go a lot into like his reasoning behind making that decision in the Clone Wars show. So then just having him here, and it does feel like he. I get that there's supposed to be that vibe because he's like the most recent member who joined the team. Like they mentioned that multiple times, and he had a few moments. Like in the 10th episode, he had that moment where he was kind of showing that he was willing to move forward from the past. Like he was willing to work with the Separatist guy, and he was like live to fight another day or whatever. So they actually did give him something there, and then they gave him something in the 14th episode when they're going to rescue Gregor, and then the rest of them don't want to go in. But he's like, you risked the same thing when you went to save me. And then that's the thing that convinces them. There's something pretty powerful about that. But that's it.
Yeah, I wish they had maybe like just one episode each, maybe in next season, where the Bad Batch gets separated somehow, and each character has to kind of go through some So
Yeah, it's mainly like Hunter got quite a bit in the season. Mainly, it was
Yes.
like kind of the main kind of like Omega. Yeah, I can understand that to some extent. I feel like focusing on Omega in this season in particular does kind of pave the way for more time being allowed to be dedicated to the rest of them in the future seasons. So that doesn't particularly bother me that much because like if this was only one season and we didn't know they were going to make more, I would have a bigger problem with stuff like that. But the fact is, I know they're making more seasons, so
yeah,
it's like I can't really judge it right now until I see the bigger picture. Like I know they're making a second season. I don't know if they're going to make more. I can see it honestly becoming something like Rebels, where it's like at least a 4 season show. So like I definitely feel like there's definitely room to develop more of the characters. They gave a little bit to Wrecker. Wrecker was kind of the one character where they kind of tried to show the true like horror of the inhibitor chip, and when it activates, and they like his relationship with Omega was sweet, and they did some good things with him in the season, and then kind of the main like heart of it. People um, talk about how Omega's kind of the heart, the kind of the main heart of the show. By the end of it, was the kind of dynamic or that relationship between Hunter and Crosshair. That's where a lot of the tension comes in, and that's where it's kind of like you really realize like how deep that goes, and I really love that they did that.
That twist in episode 15, especially like points out or proves that point. I want to rewatch the show because it's a lot to think about.
There's like I've kind of talked about in my review. Like I love the fact that Hunter, Crosshair's like, did you ever consider going back for me? Did you ever feel bad? Kind of stuff like that. And we know that he did regret leaving him behind because there's that part in I think it's the third episode where Omega is like, you can't blame him. It's the inhibitor chip and stuff like that. And he's like, I don't blame him. I blame myself because I left him behind, and we don't do that, and I feel guilty. And so, like when Crosshair, confronts him about that, that kind of probably just, amplified his guilt even further. Like he did.
Israel Animation says they focus too much on Omega, in my opinion. Huh? I think they did focus on Omega a lot. I think they could have gave more stuff to other characters, possibly, in some of the side missions.
Oh, Israel, you're heading out? All right, see you later, dude. Thanks for tuning in. Nice talking to you.
Omega is focused on other characters, maybe a little bit more. In retrospect, looking back, the show is a lot to do with.
Oh, you're still here. Okay. Good. Glad you're still hanging.
The show really does have a lot to do with the Bad Batch because when you think about it, it's the Bad Batch's relationship with being a clone and their relationship to the Empire. And that's kind of what Crosshair is, the conflict there, is that he is he's just more like part of the Empire. He's I can't find words. But Crosshair trusts the Empire more than he trusts the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say. And that's kind of interesting. Because when you really think about it, the Bad Batch were kind of outcast their whole life. And who they go to is kind of the question of this story.
Isn't like the thing that's kind of interesting with the show in general, like I hadn't thought about before, is the fact that the clones are like they were bred for war. Like Darth Maul says that in season 7, Clone Wars. He's like, "Oh, clones bred for a single purpose," But in this show, it's like you're seeing like these guys that were kind of outcasts from the other clones their entire life, but they were bred for that same purpose. And you're seeing like the whole like kind of point of the show, like they're still on that journey, but the journey that they're going on through the show is like finding their own path, like discovering their true purpose now. Like what is the purpose of the clones following the Clone Wars? Like the war, like to them, like, well, because we don't ever really get an idea of what it meant to them, because like they were controlled, and a lot of them were deprived of their free will. But like for once, we're seeing like a perspective of like the struggle of like, what do we do now? What is our purpose now? What do we?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a great. That's also. Yeah, that's
They kind of explore that a little bit with like the fact like when the Iron Man helmet. Yeah, they used. If you didn't know, Ian, they reused an Iron Man helmet piece for Wrecker.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I agree with you, Israel. It's pretty funny. Pretty annoying they keep doing that. Even when it doesn't really seem like a good use. It's like I feel like honestly the Wrecker helmet, it's like it's not the worst reuse of that piece, but like looking back on it, some of the helmets they reused that for, like didn't they reuse that for the Iron Man Mark One? That was a terrible example. That was pretty bad reuse of that helmet.
That is like a big theme in the show, though. Purpose. Omega found her purpose through relationships with the Bad Batch, through finding family.
Like she feels like she needs purpose, like with these people. You know?
And Crosshair felt purpose by following orders.
That's true. Yeah. Crosshair feels like he has purpose through the Empire, and the Bad Batch themselves are still struggling with what their purpose is. But they just don't want to be restricted by something else now, because they're like, we were restricted by the Republic before, and that's what happened. What happened was, the rest of them turned down everyone, and we were just like the rest of us were disposed of. So like we don't want to be overlooked by another person, but Crosshair feels like he needs that for some reason. Like he feels like he needs to be part of something bigger. He has this kind of sense of. He's talking about how he says to Hunter like we're superior beings. So he has this sense of superiority over other people. And so he feels he has to be part of this kind of dominant part of society. But the Bad Batch, like they're still finding their purpose. Like they're like, what do we do now? Like they kind of explore that a little bit with Omega talking to Hunter. Like there's that part in the episode with, is it with Gregor? Is the one with Hera, where he's like, Omega, we can't keep sticking our necks out for random people. And then she's like, isn't that what soldiers do?
I think that was the one with Gregor.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it was the one with Hera, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh yes, because
they didn't want to go save Hera because they were like, it's we're going off route.
Yeah, that's right. I also like that episode as well.
And I like that Omega in a way is kind of she's helping them find their purpose, because I feel like by the end of it, their purpose, I feel like we're already seeing it, is to help others. They were bred in this for like remember there's that scene from Clone Wars season 7 where Ahsoka and Rex are talking, and he's like, a lot of people don't like the war, but we have a mixed feeling on it because without it we wouldn't exist. But the very reason for their existence was to be disposed of, basically. So in a way, this is like kind of the clones for the first time finding purpose, because the like beknownst to them, their entire purpose was to be disposed of by a larger power. So now, like, they're actually finding that purpose, and Omega's helping them find that by continually kind of protesting that they go and help these other individuals, people in need. That's what soldiers do, right?
Yeah.
I really like that.
I think that's why Omega's the heart and soul of the show, because she's teaching the Bad Batch things about finding their purpose.
Like she's learning things from them, and they're also learning from her.
Yes.
And that's kind of a good relationship. I really like that. And I like the Crosshair. I think I've seen actually people talking about the fact that perhaps what kind of happens in the second season is Crosshair has this bit of like a conflict over what to do, because like he kind of cares about Omega. Like they what I kind of forgot about in that last episode is the fact that in the previous one, he has that whole monologue to Hunter about how like he wants to send Omega on the ship off world, he's like, no, she's happy with us. This is where she's supposed to be. And he's like, you know, what? Being on the run in constant danger? You know,
Yes. Was that the final
stop
episode?
trying to be someone you're not, Hunter.
Yeah.
And, like, I really like that because it kind of brings it into perspective. Like, okay, Crosshair does have, like, a sense of morality. Like, he's not a completely corrupt individual. He does save her in the end. Part of me wonders, like, there is kind of other things I've seen brought up. Like, would he have saved her had she not saved him at the beginning?
I don't know. Because remember that scene where Crosshair is going to shoot somebody, but looks like it, and then he hesitates, and then he stops.
Do you think his intent was actually to shoot Hunter? Like, initially?
I don't think so.
No?
To be honest.
Okay.
No.
So you don't think, like, his, like, mind changed?
I think he would have saved the Mega either way. I still think he's very determined in his values. He's very sure that he wants to work for the Empire, but he also doesn't want to kill. Like, near the end, I think he changed a little bit, possibly.
Thanks for joining, Israel. See you later, dude.
I think he changed a little bit. I think I started to pick up on that when he hesitated shooting somebody and then just told the guards to arrest that guy. I think he maybe changed a little bit and he just doesn't want to admit it. So I think he would have saved Mega either way. But also at the start of the show, he was very evil.
I feel like that was because of the chip. I feel like he did get it removed after the incident on Braca in the middle of the season, right? With where he tried to like burn them in the engine, and then it ended up kind of becoming a karma moment, and he got burnt up.
Yeah, I don't think he would kill. You know, when he was with
there, like, here's the thing. You remember in that same episode when they show up on Braca, he shows up on Braca to confront them, or I guess execute them, and they try to reason with him, and then the first thing he says is, "Aim for the kid."
I don't remember that in episode
8.
Yeah, it's pretty
That
cruel.
was the one following the Rex episode. But he sounds like aim for the kid. So, like, he obviously has malicious intentions. But that's also, in that same moment, is when it's first revealed to him that the inhibitor chip exists. Because, like, in the first episode, she's very vague about it and tells him, it's not your fault. And tries to reassure him, but never actually reveals anything about the inhibitor chip until, like, she's kind of asked about it. And then the rest of them find out. So they try to, like, kind of reason with Crosshair and tell him about it. And in the moment, he still can't resist it. But I feel like after that point, it was like, okay, either he wanted to get it removed after that point and after he got burnt, or maybe just his burns were so severe that, like, in order to keep him alive, they just had to remove it.
Yeah, I feel like the chip had to be removed because when he killed all those innocent people in I think it was the first episode. Actually,
That was the third one. The third episode.
Yeah, that was very, very like extreme.
Yeah, all his actions are really extreme. And then if you look at his actions past the whole Braca event, he spares Hauser. Yeah, he doesn't kill Hauser. He doesn't. His actions are a lot less, like, obviously malicious. And there's that part, like, towards the end of that episode, right? Like, when, like, at that point, that's when he asks, "Oh, can permission to hunt them down?" Like, he looks kind of conflicted and stuff like that. But I remember looking at that scene when they kind of escape, and he's, like, shooting at them, and, like, whatever, like, trying to shoot them down, and then he misses, and I was like, "Bro, there's no way." Are you expiring again? You okay?
I felt that water this time. Oh man, not good.
Are you okay over there? You're like dying. But what I was saying is that in the 12th episode, I think it is, when like the second one on Ryloth, when the same one with Hauser where he doesn't shoot him, he's up on the balcony and he sees like Hunter getting away, and he like shoots at their ship, and he misses like 3 shots, and I was like, he precisely shot down the ship with Hera in it in the prior episode, so part of me is like, he was trying to miss. He wasn't trying to hit them.
I think there's a line in Clone Wars season 7 where there's the arc with the Bad Batch, and there's like a line there where Hunter's like, he doesn't miss. So
yeah, of course. And everything we've seen before this has shown that.
Yeah,
like he hasn't missed in the past. So like, part of me was like I remember watching that and being like, oh, plot convenience. He missed because he had to miss for the plot. But then now I'm like, you know what? Like, I think that was intentional. I think he let them go.
Yeah.
And like, I like the kind of, Crosshair kind of has this like kind of, I definitely say hypocritical side to him, because he's, all about how Hunter left him behind, the rest of them, they left him behind, and all this. And then part of me is like, would he have gone back for them though? If he's all, oh, you didn't come back for me, but he never tried to go back to them either.
I think he would have done it. So say there was a situation like after they came back for him, and imagine they got stuck somewhere, I think he would come back for them.
And they do show that, because there's that part when he wakes up and he's like, what have you done? And they're like, oh, it was the Empire. They bombarded Kamino. We weren't going to leave you behind. And so then later on, he saves Omega.
Yeah.
So I feel like at that point, yeah, it's like he's repaying the favor. He even says that, right? He's like, now we're even, or whatever.
But before that, maybe not. Because Bad Batch didn't come looking for him.
Yeah. And then I also like the fact that he has that line where he's like, Hunter's like, they destroyed Kamino. Like he's like, oh, why is the kid calling the shots? And then he's like, that kid saved your life, unlike the Empire who left you for dead. And he's like, they did what needed to be done. God, and then so and then part of you's like, it's like, and then he says, you take things too personally. That's your problem. And it's like, dude, I feel like you kind of need to look at yourself. Like, most of the points in the past where they could have gone back for you, you were gunning for them. And now you're like, oh, like, part of me's like, yeah, there were a couple points where they could have gone back for him, but at the same time, like, all the times they encountered him, he was trying to kill them.
Yes. So.
And he, like, kept the whole inhibitor chip thing a mystery. Like, he left it to the last second to actually reveal that. So it's like, it's not like they knew that he had been operating on free will for a little while. So it's like, he accuses Hunter of taking things too personally and stuff like that, but it's like, dude, I think you take things pretty personally too. Like, your whole like argument is that they didn't come back for you.
Yeah, I hope we see more of Crosshair in the next season. I think we will.
I just wonder how they'll tie him into the narrative, really, because I feel like oh crap, but would the Empire actually accept him back? Do you think?
Do you think he would get once he joins? If the Empire lets it back, do you think he would try to get revenge on the Empire?
No, because he wants to join. Because he obviously isn't mad about them bombing Kamino. He's just like, they needed to do what had to be done. I'll rejoin them and they'll accept me. But remember, there was the one member of his squad that got off the planet. And she called into Rampart and he was like, oh, leave, we're going to bombard the planet. But she saw what happened.
Yeah, he could be attacked by the Empire.
No, did you hear what I said? Because it could be possible that they don't accept him back, or they like execute him or something, or I don't know, try to execute him and he escapes. Because, well, wait, because remember, AZ knocked her out, and then when she came back, she like walked into the training room where everyone was, and she saw like the Bad Batch and Crosshair fighting those droids, and then they have a shot where she like looks at all the dead bodies of the other members of the squad. So, and I don't think she would have heard what was happening over her comm device because she got knocked out temporarily. So, I don't think she actually knows what happened. So therefore, that means there weren't any witnesses of what happened down there. Because she's like, when she leaves the room, she's like tries to fight some of the droids. She like shoots one droid or something, and then she gets overwhelmed. And then she's like running down the hallway, and she's like, "Admiral, the commander lost control of the situation." But she never says like, "Oh, he committed treason or something." And he's just like, "Let the clones die together" or whatever. But she doesn't like blame Crosshair or something and say that he's like, "Oh, he betrayed us" or something. And there weren't any other witnesses that could have been there to what happened. So for all we know, she could just assume that the droids were the one that shot those guys.
But if she did see that somehow, I think the Empire would not.
But how would she have? She was unconscious.
Yeah, there's definitely. I don't think she saw them, but
I feel like there's the possibility they won't accept them back because they're like, we don't like you clones anymore. But it's very obvious that Rampart and the rest of them, like, despite the fact they don't like the clones, they see him as a useful tool. So maybe they would accept him back. Because I don't think they saw
the
it.
Empire think the Bad Batch are dead right now, though? Like they
possibly. Like there would probably be suspicions since he's alive and they aren't, and they were last seen together. There were witnesses to that, but I feel like he could probably lie and be like, "Oh, they died and I escaped," or something, or "I killed them," or "I made it out and they didn't," or something. I feel like as far as we've seen in like all the other forms of Star Wars media, the Empire isn't really very thorough about its questioning most of the time. So I feel like if he gave an answer like that, they would.
I really don't know what the next season's going to be about per se.
I feel like they'll probably have more stuff with Sid. Definitely.
Yeah.
I want to kind of develop that. I feel like there'll definitely be some Sid adventures and stuff like that. Part of me is kind of weirded out by the fact that they kept doing that, like because in the 10th episode, didn't she pay off? Like, there's that whole thing about how she plays chess with Omega, and then Omega pays off their debt that they owed to her. So, like, part of me was like, why do they need to keep working for her?
Yeah.
I guess there's part of it where she keeps kind of blackmailing them and is like, "Oh, I'm giving you a secret, but secrets are only temporary, and I could reveal you at any point." So she just kind of holds that over their head. So maybe that's why they keep working with her. But I feel like they're kind of like at this point after that one episode, like I feel like they're kind of like friends, and they have like a mutual respect and trust at this point. So part of me wonders if she'll like stop doing that.
I don't know. I think the Bad Batch.
But like, but the thing is, like, they do still need a source for food and like, and like sustenance. Like they need to get paid and they so. That's true. Like no one's really gonna hire a bunch of clones, right? So. Oh yeah, 100%. Like the textures and the environments and everything. It's like, oh my god.
Even just little details.
It's definitely the best. It's the best looking of all of the animated Star Wars shows.
Yeah, I agree.
It's definitely the best looking, like visually, like all the animated stuff. Like every episode, there's some shot where like I'm like that looks like almost like a painting or something. Like that is an incredibly detailed.
Like when he's in the mountains and the ships, it just looks really great.
Yeah, even like the characters, like the textures and the characters and stuff, and like the emotions, like you can see on their faces and like they're like their pupils and everything. Like I feel like the only thing that kind of like because I think like the weird thing is if you look at the animation in like season 7 of Clone Wars, like the early episodes in that season, it looks good, but it's not even this good. I think they really
Yeah.
did pour most of the budget of Clone Wars season 7 into the final 4 episodes, and then this show, because I feel like the final arc from Clone Wars, like the Order 66 one, right? That I feel is the only kind of part of that season or of that show that actually looks like quite up to par with this show.
There's definitely a lot of detail put into the animation in this show, like a lot.
For sure, no, and
For-
it feels, and I'm glad like they're not, because I heard a lot of people saying like it costs a lot of money to put put that much money into that detailed animation, and people were worried they wouldn't make a second season. So I'm really glad they're still continuing with that, and it just kind of like gives me like hope for like seeing more of like characters we're familiar with inside of this animation like style, because like, or well, it's the same style as Clone Wars, but like perfected, like with a higher budget now, and like they've already shown characters that we're familiar with, like seeing Rex again, and what's his name? Oh, the Cut LaQuaine guy. Remember the farmer guy, farmer clone guy?
Oh yeah,
I watched the episode that he was in from Clone Wars. He's only in one episode, and I watched that episode. And, like the textures and like the character models for like Rex and stuff, they don't look very good. They aren't particularly beautiful. So it's just like crazy to see like the difference in quality of like there he was then and there he was now, and like the fact that like they're able to like, because like, and like he really did just like look like Rex with a different haircut in Clone Wars. But like when you look at him in Bad Batch, like they're somehow even able to make him, despite the fact that he is a clone and has kind of the similar features in general, he does look slightly different, like in his physical appearance.
Yeah, it looks
real. It looks like real, basically.
Looks really good. Oh, one more thing I wanted to bring up is I really like a lot of times when Order 66 comes up, Palpatine comes up, obviously, but this show still made Order 66 very intimidating without Palpatine. And even that guy at the end when they're shooting down on Kamino. I forget what his name is, Commander something. But he was just looking down
Admiral
at
Rampart?
Kamino being destroyed, and I was like, this guy doesn't have lightning popping out of his hands, but it's kind of intimidating.
Scary. Yeah, it is. It's cool to see kind of the aftermath of all. That's kind of the best part of the show, like exploring the direct aftermath of Order 66 and the rest of it, and how like there is still like that residual effect, not just on the galaxy as a whole, but on the characters and individuals, like on the clones. The fact that their programming does continue past the starting point, which was executing the Jedi, that they're still kind of these cold, unfeeling individuals even after that. And like when you see Wrecker's inhibitor chip activate, like they show how like non-compromising the programming really is. Like the fact that he's going to kill a child. And I get that the Padawans are children too. But, like, at least the way that Omega was shown, I'm like, dude, what the freak? And it's like you see this like hulking, massive dude, like towering over this child. I'm like, holy shit!
That was scary, yeah. That was scary.
Like
some of these scenes are so depressing, especially when we're in Kamino and we know kind of what's going to happen. And the clones are being taken away and being
yeah, when you brought that up, the part with the young clones where they're like, "Are we gonna?"
Oh my god, what happened to those young clones?
Yeah, I know. That's so dark, dude. It's
really dark.
It is. And like, what happened to the rest of the Kaminoans too? Did they all get killed?
I think
what's her name? Nala Se, the only one that survived.
Yeah, it's just very depressing.
Here's something I wanted to bring up that I thought was kind of cool. It's kind of a minor thing, but it's something that's very memorable. Do you remember when they introduced the droid AZ in Clone Wars in like the 5 storyline?
Yes.
And remember, there's a part when Fives is like, oh, my name's Fives, and he's like, oh, your name is a number, and he's like, no, he's like, the difference is minimal, and he's like, not to me or any other clone. And then he says something like, I always wanted to have human feelings, but I do not. Bye. And it's like this. It's like this.
I like AC.
It's like this humorous moment, but in this show, they gave him a character because at the end, he's actually like willing to sacrifice himself, give up his, I guess, whatever life for Omega, and in the end, that kind of means he had human emotions. Yeah, so it's like, holy shit, they actually gave this little droid a character.
He has emotions.
He has human emotions. Like, he cared for an individual, which is a human emotion. That's love. And he's willing to give up his little droid life to save Omega. And so ultimately he did have human emotions. And the thing that makes me most sad with that is that he doesn't remember Five.
That was one of my favorite arcs in Clone Wars, Five's arc. I really enjoyed that arc.
Heck yeah, that was a great.
That was
It's
like,
too.
really-
That's another, I guess, kind of weak point in the show. It's too bad that they didn't. When Rex brings him up, it's just kind of brushed off, and it's like Echo is like best friends with Fives, and then it's like he's just like, oh, I told, like, there's some like kind of offhand line where Rex is like, Fives told me about the inhibitor chips, and I didn't listen to him at the time, and then they immediately like changed the topic, and I'm like, Echo, he was your friend, and he's dead. And so I guess he just found out at some point off screen. Can we not have had a scene either in the season 7 or in that match? I would not be surprised, dude, if like later on in the year or something they release a deleted scene. And I'm gonna be like, why in God's name did you delete that scene?
There's so many great deleted scenes out there that would make movies so much better.
There's like a ton of deleted scenes. Like, I don't know if you've seen from like the sequels, like Last Jedi and stuff. Like remember the Silver Stormtrooper Captain Phasma or whatever. There's this scene where like all of her men, like where Finn like calls her out on like how like cruel she is, and then all of her men actually like start to like, become insubordinate, and they actually like go against her, and then she just shoots all of them because she doesn't want to be exposed because she's like for like her true cruelty. And it's like that would have added so much to a character that was otherwise completely one note and useless in that entire franchise. And they cut it out. Why did we get Canto Bite or whatever? So this is like that makes me be like, why did we get a scene where Wrecker gets attacked by a squid monster that looks like it's out of Lord of the Rings, instead of getting a scene where Echo and Rex have like an actual like emotional conversation about Fives and what happened to him? And I would love for them to actually address through the characters the fact that Fives was ultimately the one who saved Ahsoka and Rex. Because he died, and like at first it seems like the tragedy of that story is the fact that he wasn't able to get that information out there and save them, and that no one believed him, and that his sacrifice was all for nothing. But then in Clone Wars Season 7, they give that extra significance to the fact that him gathering that information and Rex knowing about it and passing that on to Ahsoka was ultimately what saved him and her. Like, none of the other Jedi had that tie or that information. And then that ultimately ended up kind of saving the Bad Batch, right? Because Rex knows about it and he passes the information on to them that it's a danger to them, and then they remove their chips. So Five saved like a bunch of people.
Everybody, yeah.
And it kind of adds that extra significance to it. It's like, it wasn't all for nothing. Five's sacrifice wasn't all for nothing in the end, and it kind of, I don't know, it makes me happy. I feel so bad for Fives. He didn't deserve to get taken out by the. Fuck you, Palpatine. I don't care that I'm swearing.
Like, Palpatine is just. That's the one great thing about Clone Wars. I know some people don't like the politics of Clone Wars.
I love it.
because politics in the real world is just all a mess. But the politics in Star Wars just adds to the lore, in my opinion. It just makes it 100 times better. And Palpatine is just so like intimidating. And I find
the thing is, like, I feel like the politics add a lot to these stories. Like even the Thrawn books that I've read, like all of the ones that have been released, at least the canon ones up to this point, but like a lot of the first Thrawn book and even like the prequel Thrawn books, which are about Thrawn's society and like the Chiss ascendancy and whatever else, they're mostly focused on politics and the way those governments work and operate. But I'm like, I find that fascinating. I've seen actually a lot. I was surprised. I thought a lot of people liked it, but I was surprised to see a lot of people didn't like the first Thrawn book. And I know it's not for everyone, and some people just want to see like a bunch of cool like cameos and shit like that. But I feel like the fact that they focus like on the smaller things, like on the politics and like the stuff of the world, like that makes it feel more palpable to me. Like this thing I've been talking about is the fact that Marvel and stuff like that is almost completely devoid of that type of thing.
Yeah.
And people like the weird thing is people complain about when they have politics and things that are present in the real world being integrated into forms of media. But I feel like that just makes it better. Like people are complaining that Falcon and the Winter Soldier talks about politics and real world issues. But to me that makes it better. That makes it feel more palpable because all the new Marvel stuff is just multiverse, timeline, time travel, things that aren't palpable, things I can't connect with. And I like Falcon and the Winter Soldier changed that. That's why I loved it. And I love it when Star Wars does that too. Like all these shows just serve to flesh out the world more. All the kind of, I guess you call it the expanded universe, and that's what people call like all the shows and books, like the stuff that exists outside of the main movies. But like it all adds to the franchise, and they like the fact that there are like real things going on in these in Star Wars. This thing that said like, oh, the galaxy far, far away fantasy series is dealing with war crimes and Crosshair like killing a bunch of civilians with flamethrowers. It's like, oh shit. It's like that's still a real thing that happens, and like people just like people. I understand that there's a certain side to media and fiction where people view it as escapism. I saw that argument on my recent Marvel video where I talked about why I didn't want to talk about it, and the fact was that people want to see it as just want to watch it and escape from the real world. But for me, it's like I kind of need to feel like something's a palpable world. And at this point, I'm like, Star Wars is a more palpable world than Marvel, which is supposed to be set in the real world. Like Star Wars feels more lived in.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that they do have plenty of reoccurring characters and reappearing characters, they do continue to flesh out the world and introduce new characters. Like people didn't like the episode. Like I said, I'm going back to that one with the bugs, the one with Sid, where there's the pikes and whatever. They introduced that like the guy with the horns on his head. What's his name? Roland, and like his whole like connection with this crime boss and stuff. And that's stuff we've never heard about in the Star Wars. And people didn't like that episode, but I'm like, dude, I love stuff like that. Like introducing like, okay, there's like a different crime boss we haven't heard about, and there's this character that we haven't met before. Like I love stuff like that. Like I like when they introduce new characters and different. Mandalorian served to do that very well. Mandalorian did that very well, I felt, especially in the second season, like with Bill Burr and his resentment towards the Empire and stuff like that. But like Bad Batch does that as well.
Yeah, Palpatine is just so intimidating. He's more intimidating, in my opinion, without lightning powers, because he's just a person. It seems like, and he has all this power and he's pulling.
That's why they kind of failed to like actually be intimidating in the sequels, because he's kind of just like a zombie or something. It's just like his fingers are falling off or whatever.
And he's like still like super powerful, and he's just like, okay.
You're just a god now. Yeah. But yeah, like I like like when they have kind of stuff like that where it's like, okay, the villain is like, they're just a person. They're just like a person with a different idea. Like that's what they go for in the shows. Like Crosshair's like, he's not really a villain. Like, and I like the fact that in Star Wars, like the original idea was, it's all black and white. Okay, you got the big guy in the black costume with the cape. He's obviously the bad guy. These guys are the good guys. They're fighting the big oppressive government. But when you view that, like, the fact that Star Wars has kind of always been a politically focused franchise. I don't understand the idea that, or not politically focused, but it's always had that underlying real world connection because if you look at the original movies from the perspective of the Empire, they're the government and the rebels are terrorists. Like, if you view it in that way, it's like, George Lucas way back in 1977 was telling a story about people that in the real world we would view as terrorists, and they're the heroes. And the Empire is just a big allegory for like the government that we like that oversees like the entire world. Like, it's corrupt, right?
Corrupt.
But they're I like that even in Star Wars, like in the original movies, it wasn't always like that. And I like that all these different forms of media, like this show, the books, everything else, they serve to flesh it out and show that not everyone within that government is corrupt. Not all of them are evil. Even Crosshair himself, still a person. He's not a great guy, but he's still a person with morality and a person who has like a heart. And even Thrawn. Thrawn's not even a fully like malicious character, but he feels the Empire. There's a really good line in one of the books where Thrawn says, "I believe that a certain level of evil is necessary to protect the world from further evils," or something like that. So it's like not everyone in the Empire is as corrupt as the system itself. Even in those books as well, like the character of Governor Pryce, who's in Rebels and is kind of just a stereotypical kind of one-dimensional antagonist in that show. In the first Thrawn book, it's kind of like it's 50% about Thrawn and 50% about her and how she falls kind of into darkness and gets involved in kind of the corrupt government, and then just becomes like she's evil.
Governor Pryce.
Yeah, she's horrible. Yeah. By the end of the book, and it's like in the show, it's like okay, she seems exaggerated in the show a little bit, but not really when you look at her actions in the book, and it's like she like throws away all of her relationships with other people, and that's where kind of the difference comes in with Crosshair. Like she literally like there's a line in the book where there's this best friend she's had throughout the entire book. She gets her arrested, and then she's like, okay, I'll give you a deal. If you literally reveal like every bit of truth to them, I'll consider having you arrested and not executed. And that's her best friend she's talking to.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. And I like that, the difference there that they show in Crosshair is the fact that he's not throwing away all of his relationships with other people.
He still has some sort of morals.
Yeah, he still saves Omega, and even though it's like a twisted, wrong thing, he does kind of want the best for them. Like the thing that he seems to be unwilling to accept, the Bad Batch are willing to accept that he has a different point of view, but the thing that he's not willing to accept is that they have a different point of view than him, because he feels like the Empire gives him purpose, and he wants them to have purpose, but he doesn't realize that they don't feel like that's where their purpose lies in life, and he doesn't like he's kind of like in like this weird twisted way. It's like, okay, I work for the evil government. I want you to join me, but in a weird way, it's like he still cares about them and wants them to have like a life and a purpose in life, but they just don't want to go about it that way. But like deep down, it's like he's still kind of like in his own weird way, like what Tech says in the final episode. It's just his nature to be severe and unyielding. It's almost him trying to be nice. And it's like I think that's so great. It's so like there's this video that I saw popped up and that popped up my feed and was called like the genius of Crosshair and why he's one of the best antagonists in Star Wars or something. And I would agree with that, but I kind of want to watch that and like actually see what that's about. But I would agree. Like he's probably one of my favorite antagonists in Star Wars.
He's a very interesting character. It's just that twist in the episode 15. I'm still thinking about it. Just makes everything more complex.
Yeah, same here. It's just the kind of the problem is it's like so lengthy. Like if I'm like rewatching like Mando or something, it's like kind of short. I've rewatched Falcon and Winter Soldier like 4 times or something, and it's only like 6 episodes. Like the thing of this show is like quite a long dedication of time to it.
It's a hard thing to do. Can you rank this from 1 to 10? I don't know if I could. No. I don't know.
Rate this from 1 to 10. I don't know. It's really hard. Like you already know my ranking. Other people, I don't think anyone else is watching this right now, anyway. But I put it at number 4 on my list of like all the seasons, right? Which is pretty high. I really, really liked it a lot. And it's just like it kind of for me, it's like the tone. It's like you get to see the continuation of the Clone Wars in like this very interesting time period. You get to see like the expansion of themes and concepts from that show. It has the same edge to it, the same kind of tone. It's not any less dark. It's not any more light than the Clone Wars show. It's the perfect balance. Whereas Rebels is almost a little bit too light at points. It has like, in my opinion, it has themes of family that almost resonate with me more than those that were played around with in Rebels. But yeah, just I loved it. I thought I made my review or whatever. But it's good that you kind of joined me and we were able to kind of have our discussion and to let the audience, I guess, if anyone cares enough to hear your opinion on it as well. But it's, in my opinion, top tier Star Wars, TV show material. And not just TV show material, but like top tier Star Wars material. And it does highlight to me what's so great about Star Wars as a whole and why I love it right now. Um, yeah, I'm excited for It kind of makes me sad though that we're kind of done for a little while in terms of. Isn't the, oh wait, there's that anime thing coming out, isn't there? Yeah, I'd be interested in watching that. And Boba Fett comes out later in the year, so there's stuff to look forward to. I guess if anyone else is watching, I don't think anyone is, but the ranking video of all the seasons is going to come out tomorrow. I know you're going to watch it, but yeah, so the ranking video comes out tomorrow, and then I think I'm going to go back and kind of make some more Middle Earth Hobbit related stuff, and I will definitely be covering whatever new Star Wars stuff comes out in the future. And I'm looking forward to season 2 of The Bad Batch next year. The Amazon. Oh yeah, I'm kind of. There's a lot of things that I've been concerned about related to that, but I do feel like it could be good.
Yeah, I think so too. They're spending a lot of money on it.
It's not even about the original plot or the original books. It's actually like a prequel even to the original like books and the whole series. So I think that there definitely could be some interesting. Like there's a lot of books like spin-off books that are like prequels and sequels and everything to those original books. Where I'm like, there's so much of it, So like they could pull from some of that, or they could just create a whole new story. Like that's the thing is like Middle Earth has so much potential that's untapped. And it's like I really am looking forward to see what they're gonna do with that.
Yeah, I think they can explore their world even more, just like Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think that we've covered all the bases, right? Kind of covered everything that we need to about Bad Batch. Ranking of all the seasons coming out tomorrow, probably most likely. We'll definitely be covering whatever Star Wars material comes out in the future. So, if anyone, I don't think anyone stayed all the way through, but to all of you who joined, if you, I don't know, go back and watch the video version of this once it's up on YouTube. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for, contributing to the stream and asking the questions that you did. Thank you, Ian, for joining me and discussing the Bad Batch. But, That's pretty much it for this video. Have anything you want to say before we sign off, Ian?
Honestly, I'm looking forward to Batman season 2.
Same here. Yeah. The future of Star Wars is bright, to say the least. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Whoever tuned in, thank you Ian for joining me. Peace out, everyone.